Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Steven Brown, and in today's video, guys, are the Toronto Maple Leafs better or worse than what they were last season? No, but seriously, and what are we comparing that to if we're saying better or worse than? If we're talking about the Maple Leafs heading into the playoffs last season, I don't think that that's necessarily fair to compare what that team was to what they will be at the beginning of this year, because this year's team hasn't had an opportunity to add players at the trade deadline yet. So if we're comparing it to last year's team at the start of the season, I think that there's an argument to be made that, I don't know. Let's take a look. Game one. Those were the lines last year. Joe Thornton on the top line, Zach Hyman on the third line playing in a shutdown role. I loved that Joe Thornton was a Toronto Maple Leaf. I really did, but when he wasn't playing with Matthews and Marner last year, he struggled. And he struggled again in the playoffs last season. Didn't really give them a whole lot. Forecasting, Michael Bunting played in Arizona's top six with guys like Nick Schmaltz and Connor Garland and Clayton Keller. Had really good results there, so I would be surprised if he was playing outside of the Maple Leafs' top six there. Nick Ritchie, not really a guy that you would want playing in a defensive role, so I would not put him on that third line with a guy like David Kampf. I wouldn't put him on the fourth line either because I think he's better than that. So if we're comparing Bunting and Ritchie to Joe Thornton and Jimmy Vesey, I think that this year's team has a step on that. And I understand the significance of losing a guy like Zach Hyman, because in defensive situations, yeah, he was playing on that third line last year, but when the Leafs needed a goal, he was on that top line, and without him there, that is going to change the way that that top line plays if they can't find a guy to play that similar role. Those two guys, Matthews and Marner, are going to have to do things that they haven't really needed to do before. You can view that as a good thing. You can view that as a scary thing. I don't know. They're two really talented players. You were never going to find one player to replace Zach Hyman. You are going to need to do it by committee. Getting a guy like a David Kampf is huge in my mind. Yeah, the surface analytics aren't necessarily the greatest, but if you dive a little bit deeper into the role that he played on the Blackhawks last season, he was their shutdown center. He was the shutdown center on a team that was not good defensively. They were awful last season, just all over. And I'm not saying that the Leafs are good defensively. I'm just saying that they're not as bad as the Blackhawks. And his results against top-end competition relative to the rest of his teammates were absolutely stellar. So to slot him into that role and get Kerfoot out of it, which is the role that he was in last season, I think is huge, because we saw in the playoffs what Kerfoot can do when he's not shoehorned into being a shutdown centerman. 5 points in 7 games in an offensive role on that top six. Kerfoot can give you value in your top 9, either on that shutdown line as a winger, or he can shift into the top 6 and give you some more points. It frees him up. It frees him up to be more of an offensive player, and I like that. The fourth line, I don't really know what's going on with that. You could see guys like Nick Roberts in there. You could see guys like Kirill Semyonov there. All I know is that right now, the Leafs are over the salary cap, and if you're looking at that fourth line, guys like Adam Brooks, guys like Ilya Mikheyev, guys like Pierre Engvall, guys like Wayne Simmons, none of them are exempt from waivers. They're going to have to send one or two of those guys down. What I will say is that there's an opportunity for players to step up and grow into holes that we maybe see on the roster right now. Maybe that's not the most sexiest thing to hear, but at the same time, you got guys that have been looking for opportunities that are getting it now. A guy like Michael Bunting, in the prime of his career, a prolific American Hockey League goal scorer. He gets an opportunity with the Coyotes last year in about 20-21 games or so and plays really well in their top 6. He's going to get an opportunity to play with really good players here. Nick Ritchie, he's in the prime of his career and has been steadily improving each season. He's going to get a hell of an opportunity to start next season. A guy like Kerfoot is freed up from playing that shutdown center role. His first year here in Toronto, the first 20 games were with Mike Babcock. Then he got absolutely brained by Jeff Carter, broke his jaw, had a concussion, and then got suspended afterwards. He was eating like liquid foods for like 2 weeks or something like that. Last year, shoehorned into playing a defensive role. He's going to get an opportunity, a new lease on life, if you will. Can he take a hold of it? A guy like Andre Kasha, he's been really injury plagued the last couple of years. He's going to get an opportunity here. A guy like Nick Robertson, if he plays well to start the year in the American Hockey League, or if he really impresses in training camp, he's going to get an opportunity here. And the thing with that is that if you have enough players that are hungry, enough guys that have been looking for an opportunity that are finally getting it, you know, that was the entire Vegas Golden Knights roster in their inaugural season. Guys that were looking for opportunities that finally got it, and it just clicked. It just worked. And if it doesn't work out, you could do a lot with very little at the trade deadline. Like I've been saying in these videos, you can get 50% salary retained, you can get double 50% salary retained, and all the cap hits are vastly prorated by that point in the season. Moving on to the D-core here, if you're comparing last season to what it is right now, it does hurt to lose a guy like Zach Bogosian. Maybe in the first half of last year, he wasn't anything too spectacular. He was a big body. He was tough. He was nice to have. But there was about a 10 or 15 game stretch before he got injured towards the end of the season last year where he was on an absolute heater. And it's so unfortunate that we didn't get to see that version of him as we moved into the playoffs. He got injured and he came back and he just wasn't that same player there. But if we're looking at this season's D-core, I do think that this year's D-core is better than what it was last year. And that is simply because of Rasmus Sandin here. I know that he struggled in the playoffs, but to know that he has a full year of development ahead of him at the NHL level, getting top power play time, getting to move up and down the lineup in any given game if he's having a really good night or if there's an injury or so, is comforting. That bottom pair is going to be, I think, more consistent than what it was last season. Zach Bogosian, not necessarily a defensive defenseman. I think he jumped up in the rush too much to be considered that, and I think that Rasmus Sandin is definitely a better puck carrier than what Bogosian was and a better puck mover. So if Dermott, maybe, I'm tired of going into the season being optimistic about Travis Dermott. Either do it or get out, man. To see him there on cap friendly with the lefty righty thing there, it's just like, yeah, man, I'll believe it when I see it. They've been saying that for years. The one thing I will say about Travis Dermott is don't expect him to put up a lot of points. That's just not him. He's not an offensive defenseman. He's good defending the rush. He's not very good at defending in his own zone. But we need him to be more confident, carrying the puck from his own zone through the neutral zone and passing it off to the forwards. He can't just die as soon as he enters the neutral zone. And the frustrating thing about that player is that he's got the talent to be better, but he just hasn't been. But if a guy like Travis Dermott can't get it done there, there's another guy who's been looking for an opportunity, who may just get it, who does play the right side, who is a right shot defenseman. And if you saw the picture of Timothy Liljegren that was posted on social media, posted on Twitter, like last week or something like that, I'll link it in the description of the video or something like that. That guy is shredded. Like, it's got him listed at like 6'1", just under 200 pounds or so on like HockeyDB or NHL.com or Elite Prospects or whatever like that. No, man, this guy's not a teenager anymore. But for me, really, I think what's going to tell the tale of the 2021-2022 Maple Leafs is the improvement that we're going to see, and hopefully just the consistency, hopefully some more stability as well, in goal between guys like Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek. Don't take this the wrong way, because I absolutely loved the guy's first 3 years here, especially the 16-17 season. I thought that Frederik Andersen should have been nominated for the damn Vezina Trophy for how good he was and how bad the team in front of him was. But at the same time, the numbers over the last 2 seasons, I did not enjoy being as critical as I needed to be of him. I did not enjoy that. But if you're looking at those numbers, it's indefensible. He just was not good. And the team improved defensively last season too, and he still wasn't any better. It was never anything personal. Of course, I wish him the best in Carolina, and it was just a situation where it was frustrating because they didn't have a lot of cap space to begin with, and they didn't have a lot of internal options for goalies either, and the fact that he was making $5 million and not really playing the best limited them even more. And that's a circumstance where the salary cap really makes you be more critical of a guy than you maybe want to be. But that's just what it was. Over the course of an 82-game regular season, having guys like Campbell and Mrazek and even Michael Hutchison as a third goalie, because people forget, they're not that big of a fan of him, but in the limited amount of games that he got into last year, he was quite effective. In terms of the standings, I think that having 3 guys like Campbell, Mrazek, and Hutchison, I think will limit the loss of a guy like Zach Hyman over the regular season, where it can be quantity over quality at times. But come the playoffs, for me, the Maple Leafs are going to need to add at the deadline, especially to the forward core, maybe even to the defensive core, to continue to limit that loss or even add to the team to make it better than what it was going into the playoffs last season. I expect this team to finish at least third in the Atlantic Division, if not second. And if you don't think so, I encourage you to take a look at the other teams in the Atlantic Division. Yes, Tampa Bay still is world-destroyingly good, but they lost their entire third line. Guys like Yanni Gourde, Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow, those are really, really good depth pieces. A team like the Boston Bruins, they lost David Krejci, they lost Tuukka Rask. Yes, they replaced him with Linus Ullmark, but at the same time, if you're looking at their center depth, that is far from perfect. If you're looking at this Leafs roster and you think it's far from perfect, that center depth on Boston would really concern me. If you're looking at a team like the Florida Panthers, they got a rookie goalie in net, albeit he's a damn good young goalie, but limited amount of experience, and Sergei Bobrovsky behind him. A team like the Montreal Canadiens, they will be without Carey Price and Shea Weber for the entire season. Yeah, they added some guys in free agency, but you got to be able, and they might be built for the playoffs, but you got to play a quality 82-game season to make it there. The rest of the teams in the Atlantic Division, teams like Detroit, teams like Ottawa, yes, they do have young players that will take steps forward, but I don't necessarily see them being players yet. A team like Buffalo, that's funny. Heading into last season, I did 2 videos. One talking about reasons why you should be optimistic about the team, and then another on reasons why you may be pessimistic towards the team. As a journalism student, it's important to me to at least try to be objective, but at the same time, I don't want to make these videos too long, and it's also better for the channel if I can do 2 videos instead of 1. So we're going to do 2 videos. So as always, guys, make sure to leave your thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section, and like the video if you did like it, and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And it is good to be back, because I did take a little bit of a vacation, and I held a board meeting for the channel with me, myself, and and me said to myself that if we don't take a vacation here, we're going to start to form a union. So me said that to myself, and I agreed. I'll see you guys in the next one.